All right, guys, welcome back to Crossman Productions. Um, some stuff out here. Man, it's been such a crazy weekend. You guys know how it goes, man. I don't know about how things are out where you're at, but our weather has been crazy here in Texas. We've been hitting probably somewhere between we haven't been under 100, so we've been hitting up to about 108. So the weather has been crazy, crazy stupid. Man, but I'm glad that we finally get to get back and come do another show. I have a new guest that's coming on. His name's Ryan Cullen. We're going to get to know him a little bit. This is one of the gentlemen that Steve Joyner introduced me to. And Steve's brought in several um, different guests that we've gotten a chance to sit down and talk to. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring Ryan in. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going well. Thanks for
Man,
having me.
I'm glad to have you on the show. I know that we're gonna do this last week, and my schedule was so crazy last week, so I completely apologize. But I got you on today. I'm excited about sitting down and getting to talk to you. Um, so uh, hold on one second here. Make sure everything's good. Okay. Yeah. Welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you.
Let's kind of tell my audience a little bit about you and kind of dive into what you're doing and kind of give them a heads up, like let them know kind of where you were born and raised and what was life like for Ryan growing up.
Well, I've been born and raised in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's a small city south of Madison, Wisconsin. I've lived here most of my life. I'm actually moving up north to Fitchburg, which is right outside of Madison next week. I'm moving in with my fiance, so
Okay.
I'll be living with her starting next week. But yeah, life for me was a pretty ordinary one. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so like a lot of kids, my passions were the movies and video games of the time period, which I still have very strong love for. And
Right.
my other strong love has always been writing. I've been into writing since back in middle school.
Okay.
Um, I was, as young as probably about 13 or 14 years old, I was writing screenplays and plays and stuff like that. And I even once wrote a 13 episode cartoon series when I was in high school. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, writing has always been a part of my life and a part of my passion. I've wanted to get into the film industry in that way, and due to my love of movies, but certain events in the last 20 years or so kind of killed my passion for a little while. I'm trying to get back into it. I've started writing a few years ago, and that's a whole story. There's a whole story behind that, which I'll get into later. I'm just trying to be brief right now, but yeah, I've gotten back into writing and making some connections and some headway into hopefully getting some of my scripts made. I've written 9 in total. I have
Okay.
5 feature films and 4 short scripts written. I've gotten a few finalist positions in some competitions with my scripts.
Wow.
Talking to a couple independent producers, so hopefully things are starting to get moving pretty soon.
Okay. And so when you started, you talk about writing. Did you like kind of pick that up in high school or middle school? Like, did you start writing? I guess when was the earliest you started getting into your love for writing?
Well, the very earliest was back in elementary school.
Oh
My
wow.
my school would have I think like every 2 or 3 months they'd have like a super author thing where the kids could write all the whatever they wanted for a story, or sometimes they'd have to do a theme. And I always loved doing that. And I especially loved if I won, I would get to read my story in front of the entire school. And I loved
Oh, wow.
making the kids and the teachers laugh and everything. I'd write the funniest stories I could think of and everything.
Right.
So, and I would always get such a huge response with my stories. So that kind of started my love of writing all the way back then. But then, like I said, in middle school, I started writing my first attempts at screenplays, probably around when I was 13 or 14. And that went into high school and probably the beginning of my college years. I was writing on a regular basis, writing one project after another. And just, yeah, I was pretty gung ho at the time.
Cool. So, you said you've done 9 uh, screenplays now.
Hmm.
So, you're talking to some producers and stuff? How are you pretty close to like maybe doing a film or
Um, I'm in the very early stages on
right?
some. One of my scripts is actually on the slate of a production company, so we'll
Right.
see what happens there.
Right.
If that can go any further. But yeah, I'm talking to a few independent producers, and I'm just trying to make some connections in the industry. And just today, I actually got word back from a director who might be interested in making one of my short films.
Okay.
I'm going to be watching some of the short films he's put on YouTube and see what I think of his work, see if we're a match
Right.
and everything. But he's interested, so we'll see what happens there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm glad that because you said that you stopped doing it for a while and then you picked it back up.
Yeah, that's kind of a long story, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to talk about it if you're willing to listen.
Oh, definitely, definitely, yeah.
As I mentioned, I was pretty gung ho about my writing all throughout my middle and high school years, but the whole while, I was hearing people in my close inner circle within my family saying it wasn't going to happen, get your head out of the clouds, that kind of stuff, focus on getting a real job.
Right.
And eventually, I think it just wore me down. And eventually, I just started doubting myself. And
Mm.
I, I remember specifically, I just decided I wasn't going to do it anymore, even though I didn't want to stop. I told
Right.
myself that they were right and that I should just focus on getting, an office job and just, hopefully starting a family and stuff like that. And so I went about. I did drop out of writing. This was probably in the very late '90s, very early 2000s when this
Mm.
happened. Like I said, it was right in my early college years when this happened.
Right.
So it probably was more close to the late '90s when it happened.
Right.
And so then for years, I was trying to get myself back into writing, but every time I would try to sit down, I would hear the voices of
Yeah.
people saying that it was not going to happen. And, I don't want to sound crazy saying I'm hearing voices literally, but I just would think back on
Right.
a lot of those words and I would just start to doubt myself and I would just either give up or I'd just start to say that what I was writing just wasn't good enough. And so I would just give up on it. And so that I had a few false starts over the decades, but
Right.
I mainly just focused on my career, which was just doing, data entry, like office work at a company I worked for like 15 years. And my main writing output at the time was I was doing a movie review blog at the time I started reviewing movies in 2005, and I did it up until last year. Actually, it was just last year that I stopped doing it. I had a blog called Real Opinions, Real spelled REEL,
Right.
and I would just see pretty much every movie that was playing at my local theater each weekend. I spent every weekend at the movies and just seeing and reviewing. I ultimately, by the time I was done, I reviewed, I think, like over 2,200 films on my
Wow.
blog or something. So Yeah, I sat through a lot of movies over those 18 years. There was nearly 18 years that I did it from 2005 to 2023. So yeah, roughly 18 years I did that.
Wow.
And then so like I said, I was mainly doing my office job, and I mean, I was enjoying reviewing movies, but I wanted to get back into writing and fiction again, but I just didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And then in 2020, um, like a lot of people, I got laid off from my job due to the pandemic. I lost my job at 15 years. They laid off, I think, like over 40% of the company. They just couldn't hold on to the full workforce. And unfortunately, I was one of the 40%. And so I was kind of depressed for a little while. And I started doing a study at home course for a job. But even while I was doing it, I wasn't really passionate about it. I knew I could do it, but I wasn't really passionate about it, and I was
Right.
just kind of going through the motions, not
Yeah.
motions while I was studying for the program.
Right.
Um, and then in early 2021, February 2021, I had a back-to-back setbacks in my life that kind of uh, inspired me to start writing again. First, in February 2021, I found out that one of my older brothers had unfortunately passed away. He was teaching in South Vietnam. He was teaching English, and he had gotten sick. And unfortunately, due to the fact that we were still under quarantine at the time, this was in February 21, so the world travel was shut down and everything at the time,
Right.
and so he couldn't fly back home, and we couldn't fly back to him. And unfortunately, he passed away in his apartment over there and everything. And then 1 week after that happened, I learned that I was diabetic. Luckily, it's very controlled, but at the time, I didn't know that. So, and the death of my brother was still fresh in my mind and everything. So I
Right.
was thinking, am I going to die? Is this a serious disease that's going to affect the rest of my life and everything? And I'm
Right.
is like, is my life going to be at risk? And so it was kind of these two events that kind of lit a fire under my ass and said, made me say, I mean, life is short.
Right.
I need to do what I love again. And with the support of my family and the support of the amazing girlfriend who is now my fiance, who I'm moving in with next week,
Right.
um, in August of 21, I started writing my first screenplay, which is a paranormal haunted house thriller called Once in This House. That's the script that's currently on the slate of a production company, and that I'm trying to shop around a little bit and everything, and
Right.
hopefully do something with, because that's the one that's gone through the most drafts, and I have the most. One of the scripts that I have the most faith in. I have a few scripts that I have the most faith in, and that's one of them.
Okay.
And then, so yeah, so that was in August 21 that I started writing again. And once I started, I haven't stopped. Like I said,
Right.
that was only about 3 years ago, and I've written 9 screenplays since then and
Oh wow.
everything. And so obviously I haven't stopped since then. And luckily I've got the passion back, and I've got the drive to make the connections within the industry. And I've got a publicist now who's helping me get my name out there, who is Steve Joyner, as you mentioned.
Right.
And yeah, and so luckily, I am hopefully making the right moves to get something going, get a ball rolling, and get something going, hopefully within the next few years.
Right. And that's one of the things I talk about with the whole pandemic is for all the horrible things that it caused.
Hmm.
One of the things that the benefits, I think, is giving people a chance to kind of reset. Um, you know, and I'm seeing a lot of people who, um, who was quarantined during that time. And
Reevaluated their life.
right when they've rekindled passions that they've had,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
because we get so busy with everyday life, working full-time jobs, and
Yeah,
it kind of gives you it kind of gave everybody that chance to kind of go back and find something that your passion, and be able to start working at your passion, because everything
mhm,
was closed down, so you didn't have to go to work, so
right.
you had to have something to fill the day with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing a
Well,
lot of.
for the past, for a couple of years after that, I was kind of housebound due to my diabetes. I had a wound on my foot, my left foot, that just would not heal. It would kind of heal, but then it would burst open again and everything. And so I
Right.
was kind of housebound for a good, maybe roughly 2 years or so.
Oh wow.
I didn't want to go, I couldn't go out for a job or something like that because, I was going to all these medical appointments and I needed an outpatient surgery. I needed the wound to heal in order to get the surgery done on my foot in order to,
Right.
so I needed to get the wound to close in order to, for them to do the surgery on my foot to improve the pressure so that it wouldn't burst open so much and everything when I was walking because I love walking. I
Right.
used to, before my foot issue, I would
Right.
walk everywhere, and
Wow.
I would walk for miles and just and so I yeah, it was kind of the pandemic combined with having to be off my feet and kind of being housebound for the past couple of years.
Mm.
Luckily, I had a support system that supported me, and I had somewhere to go and everything, and I had access to money and health care and stuff like. So I am very
Right.
fortunate. I know that I am extremely blessed because
Right.
I was able to work on getting better and getting with my work on my dream of my writing and work on other things. And, so I was very blessed and I'm very thankful for the support with my family that I did have during that turbulent period, which probably could have crushed some other people in less fortunate circumstances. But yes.
Right. So you were talking about kind of how um, the people around you at the time kind of talked you out of writing. So after
Mhm.
this, was it the same people that kind of um, then started, kind of believing in what you were doing and had
Yeah.
encouraging you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
things are going better, so I'm
Right.
definitely in a much better place.
That's great, and I'm glad too, because it's important. It's important for people to follow their passion and their purpose.
Mhm.
That's what my show's all about.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
what find your passion and your purpose, and then go for it. You know, don't let people stop you. Don't let the voices in your head of people. I remember when I was younger too, and I used to write scripts a lot too,
Mhm.
and I heard the same thing. I hear people, oh, go get a real job, get a real job. People say that. The people who say that normally are the people who's already given up on their dreams.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not
No, I
chasing
know
their
that
own
now.
passion.
I understand that now,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not chasing their own passion and not going after their own purpose. They've already given up on theirs, and so they don't like seeing other people continue to chase their passion and purpose. So
Mhm.
so I understand kind of where you're coming from with that. I stopped writing and doing shows for a while, and got a real job, and was focusing on my energy on that until I got sick. I went into kidney failure. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and so, I was on dialysis for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
And then I kind of decided while I was there to start getting back into things.
Mhm.
So I completely understand that. Um, so do you remember, like because you're at home, you're in the middle of the pandemic, you know, um, what was it that kind of made you decide to go back into writing? Can you remember at that time what was going on?
I mean, like I said, I think those 2 back-to-back experiences in early 21 were what really inspired me to, say to myself, I need to get back into this because this is where my
Right.
passion is. I need to rediscover this passion. So, like I said, I had this, I this script once in this house. I always had
Right.
that title in my head, thinking that that would be a good title for a haunted house movie, since they
Right.
always deal with like the past and the history of the house and everything. So I
Right.
always thought that would be a good title. So I had the title, I just needed an idea, and so this is kind of how I write all my scripts. I thought of an opening sequence, and if I can go from there and start to
Right.
build more ideas, then I can say to myself, okay, I think I might be able to work with this. And then I start writing. I don't really plan out my scripts in advance. I don't do like a beat board where, like have
Right.
like this happens and this happens. And I don't like write a synopsis or stuff like that. I come up with an opening. And if I can build from that,
Right.
and think I could build, ideas and where I want the story to go or where I want to end, then
Right.
I can go. Then I sit down and I write. And so I have a plan, but I also kind of write by the seat of my pants, which
Right.
I mean, so I'm always, I can sometimes, change my mind in the middle of a screenplay of, oh, maybe I want to go in this direction, and so then I'll change things around a little bit and add some scenes or
Right.
add a character or take something out and something and it goes in a different direction. Or I write a draft and then I think back on it. I think, well, maybe I'd like to do this instead, which I'm sure every writer does.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm not really unstructured, but I'm not completely rigid or structured with my writing. I don't, like I said, I don't write out a synopsis and I don't plan out, do like plan out like scene by scene. I like little index cards or stuff like that, like some writers do.
Right. Is there a particular program that you use for your screenwriting?
Like a computer program, you mean?
Yeah.
I use a Final Draft.
Oh, Final Job. Okay. Yeah. And that's for those people who are starting, that's like um, a um, a perfect program for that. Because it puts everything
Best
in.
best Christmas present ever. My fiance actually ordered that for me for Christmas a few years ago. So
Yeah, that's a great program. And I remember when I first started writing, I actually got before there was the program, there was a book,
oh
um,
yeah.
the Final Draft, and you how to write a script. Um,
Hmm.
I remember the first script that I had, I took down to the Dallas Film Commission, and it was in a book form. It didn't look nothing like a script. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took it down to the film commission, and the director of the film commission read the script, and then she loved the idea of the film, and so she gave me a script from Major League, the
Hmm.
movie Major League with
Charlie Sheen. Yeah.
yeah. So she gave me the actual script. So and she was like, "This is how the format should look," and
Well,
then
that's how I learned how to write a script. Is I looked at screenplays online that were free to read online.
yeah,
I looked at kind of like the genre that I was interested in writing. So I looked at, like the scripts for like The Ring or The Conjuring and
right,
stuff like that. Or so I looked at scripts like those that were free to read online, and I just kind of learned through reading. I've never taken any classes or anything. I've never taken any course, but I mean, having
right,
seen so many movies through as a film reviewer, I
right,
knew about like the classic three act structure and everything, and how character development and stuff like that worked and everything. So
right,
I basically used my knowledge of seeing thousands of movies and used my knowledge from reading free screenplays online in order to learn about the formatting of scripts and how they're written.
right. And now, there's so many different programs out there. I use a
Yeah,
program called Celtics right now.
yeah, I've heard of
CEL.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same way. um, they give you like the beat sheet, where you can just go through. Um,
Mhm.
there's they have the storyboard, where you can actually put pictures or whatever, and
Right.
all that stuff to me is when I'm writing is overwhelming.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a story, and I just want to write the story down. I don't want to put it on, break it down for whatever, on these other things. I just get in and I just write.
Do you write in a certain genre, or like I mainly write in horror and thriller genre? I'd like to write in others. All but one of my scripts is horror is in the paranormal horror and thriller genre, and the one that isn't is comedic drama that is semi-autobiographical. But yeah, but just curious if you write in a certain genre mainly, or
Well, I do. I've done a couple. So I've actually taken and wrote the first one. The one I brought to the film commission was a gang related, more like Boys in the Hood type of like.
Mhm, mhm,
And then the second one I wrote was called Kissing Judas, and I took a Bon Jovi song, Blood on Blood,
mhm,
and
mhm.
turned that song into an actual film.
Oh, I
Uh,
see.
and then, like right now, I'm writing a television series called Redemption. It's
Mhm,
more of a, um, I guess, an action thriller type of a show with a an ex cop who kind of crossed the line, joined forces with a drug cartel, got himself in trouble, went to jail, and then he got hired by an agency to go after the drug cartel. Uh,
mhm.
so, um, it kind of varies, the different. I guess I don't have like a specific genre.
Oh,
One of
sure.
the things that I do is when I write, I like action films. So whatever I
Mhm.
write, I just want there to be a lot of action in it.
Yeah.
So the nine films that you have, the majority of them are like paranormal, like horror type.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like I said, all but one of them are in the paranormal horror and thriller genre, ranging from demons to traditional haunting murder mystery like stories of the
yeah,
soft run based around hauntings to alien abductions to stuff. So yeah, I kind of am running the gauntlet of the paranormal genre.
right. So those are
Shapeshifters
fun films
and
though too,
shapeshifters and monsters and stuff like that. Yeah.
right? That's the kind of films that my daughter's into. Yeah, the
How
whole
old is she?
yeah. My daughter is 21 now, so
I was hoping you'd say like 7 or something because that would be awesome.
and she's into that whole the paranormal. And she's big Stranger Things. She loves Fair
Oh
Street.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, I've always had a deep love for the paranormal horror.
right.
I think it dates back to when I was 7 years old when I fell in love with movies back in the summer of 1984. My two older brothers, who are twins,
Mm,
um, they took me to see back to back the original Gremlins and Ghostbusters movies.
right.
And so I mean, those are the movies that made me fall in love with film itself. And so I think just kind of that early introduction
Right.
kind of kick-started it. And then it really went into it a few years later. I think I was around 10 years old. My parents let me watch my first horror movie, which was the original Poltergeist.
Oh wow.
I was allowed to watch that on TV, and I just loved it. I,
Wow.
I, I mean, I was terrified by it, but I loved it at the same time. I was just so into that. I thought it was like the greatest movie I'd ever seen at that time, and everything. And so, I mean, I was scared. I mean, I remember lying in bed that night waiting for my TV to turn on by itself, but
Right.
but I loved it. At the same time, the next day I was telling my friends on the playground about the movie I saw on TV that night and everything. So yeah.
Wow. Man. So now you get the nine films. You're working on the one. Um, and so You said you were talking to a director on this one to see if
On a short, yeah, one of
on
my
short
short
film. Okay,
films I've written.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking to a director on a short film I wrote.
Well, cool. So let me ask you this: if there's directors out there who's wanting to do a horror film, yeah, and they're looking for a writer,
Mhm.
how do they get in contact with some with you?
Best way to find me is either on Facebook, look for Ryan Cullen, or through it's called Stage 32, which is a website for writers where you can publish your work. And I'm also on Coverfly, which is another screenwriter website. You can look me up on there and see some of my work on there, or just get in touch with me through Facebook.
Okay, cool. Well, man, I'm glad that we finally got to sit down and kind of hear your story and see some of the projects you're working on. I wish you the best of luck with getting these films made because um, you know again another one of the things that happened from this pandemic is we're starting to see a lot of independent filmmakers come out of this.
Yeah, yeah, it's a crowded field. Yes,
But it's good. It's good because
yeah.
the independent filmmaker to me, their ideals are fresh, and and the films they're putting out, I think, are better than some of the stuff that Hollywood's regurgitating. They keep giving us the
Or
same thing.
even like short films are
Right.
getting major deals. Like people put their
Right.
short films on YouTube and then they get contacted by major studios. I mean, that's what happened with Smile, that horror film from a couple of years ago that started out as a short film on YouTube.
Right.
And then that guy who made it got to make the movie at Paramount, and now he's doing a sequel, so which is coming out in October.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, even short films are getting attention these days.
Right. And so on Wednesday, I have a guy who Jeffrey Peterson who did a short film, and now he's doing remake about one of the characters from the short film. And so
Hmm.
he's going to be on the show Wednesday, and we're going to air that short film, his new short film. So yeah, a lot of these great independent filmmakers are coming out from this. So
Oh, sure.
I wish you the best of luck. And the other thing too
Thank you.
is
You too.
the other thing too is that with these short films, um, the technology is out there now that where people could go in there and film their own movies.
Yeah.
You have access to editing programs, and you got
Oh,
access
yeah.
to to cameras that we didn't have before. So it's
Right.
easier to put something together. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what you guys come up with when with
Oh,
some of your stuff.
I hope so. Thank you.
So and then when you do, we'll bring you back on, and we'll possibly air the show, or kind of tell people where they can find it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, man. Well, again, thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you, Parks.
All right, guys. Until next episode, remember, you are uniquely designed with a purpose, and always keep moving forward. Peace.